Hey guys, it's Jeff from Pressure Luck, and I'm here with one of my best friends in the world again, Better Than Bouillon. You know what? Life is just better with you. I love you to pieces, and you're going to make my next dish today. I'm talking to you right now. You're going to make my next dish today come to life with the most rich flavor. Yes, you are, and it knows it's going to also. Today, I am going to make a very hearty, meaty dish, and as we enter the winter months coming up ahead, ooh, it's going to be chilly out there. Well, I'm always warm in my apartment, hence me wearing like this shirt right now, the polo. We are going to be making a really comforting meat dish. Short ribs is, to me, like one of the most luxury meats there is. It's so juicy and tender and succulent, and the meat just melts in your mouth. And today, we are going to make a Mississippi-style short rib. I'm sure maybe you've heard of Mississippi pot roast. It's basically pot roast that's tangy. It uses pepperoncini peppers, and the sauce is kind of zesty. It's not overly spicy at all. It's very mild spicy, a little kick to it. But the Better Than Bouillon in this situation, I'm using the roasted beef base, is going to create a rich flavor because we're going to use this as a foundation to make our beef broth, and it's going to seep into those short ribs as it cooks with a bunch of other delicious things. But the star ingredient right here, the Better Than Bouillon roasted beef base, I cannot wait to show you how easy this is. This is just going to prove to you that making something as fancy as short ribs doesn't mean you have to have an element of fancy within you to do it. Just ask this guy right here. Nothing fancy about me. In fact, we're gonna be footloose and fancy free. So grab your best friend, Better Than Bouillon, and go right to your Instant Pot because we're about to make the most amazing, succulent, fall off the bone, sassy, zesty Mississippi short ribs. So I'm a fervent believer in prepping before stepping. Get all the prep work out of the way first. But I'm not going to show you how to do all the other prep work right now. That's pretty basic. What I do want to focus on, however, is how to make the amazing broth we're going to use here. And to make that beef broth, we're going to use beef broth here, I'm going to use 1.5 cups of water and use, you guessed it, Better Than Bouillon roasted beef base. First, we'll just unscrew the lid. Now let's write on the lid how this works. 1 teaspoon of Better Than Bouillon equals a cube of bouillon, or an 8-ounce can of broth. And the way you do that is you're just going to add 1 teaspoon of the Better Than Bouillon base with 1 cup of water. So 1 teaspoon of the base plus 1 cup of water equals 1 cup of broth. In this case, I'm using 1.5 cups of water, so I'm using 1.5 teaspoons of the base. Alright, and now I'm just going to mix that in there. And there you have it, instant beef broth. Thanks to Better Than Bouillon roasted beef base, which in my opinion is the absolute be-all end-all in flavor when it comes down to broth. And because I love you so much, and so does Better Than Bouillon, if you go to betterthanbouillon.com/PLC and enter the code PRESSURELUCK, all one word, at checkout, you're gonna get 20% off your order. I mean, does it get better than that? Look, thank you, Better Than Bouillon. Thank you. You are the best. Alright, let's set that aside for the time being and begin the recipe. So to my Instant Pot, I now want to add in 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, which I've already dumped in, as well as 4 tablespoons or 1/2 stick of salted butter. I'm going to hit the saute button, and then I'm going to make sure that I'm on the more or high setting and hit that start button if your model has that. Alright, once the butter's melting in there and the oil's all heated up, what we're going to do now is we're going to add our short ribs. Now, I like to use these kinds of short ribs where like there's a little bit of bone in there with them, you see? See the bone like this? They are my favorite cut of short ribs. I want to use about between 4.5 to 5 pounds of them, okay? Now, what we want to do is we want to sear our short ribs, and I'm just going to put them in there. And we're going to sear our short ribs on each side for about a minute or so. Okay, and it's smelling rather heavenly in here right now. I mean, the smell of meat against butter and vegetable oil is pretty dang delicious. So now, like I said, after about a minute, we're going to just flip it. We want to kind of give everything a little bit of a sear on all sides. Okay, and batch 1 is just about done. Look at this, looking wonderful. You see that nice sear? Fabulous. Okay, now just take a plate and then put our seared meat on it. Okay, we're looking great. And now we'll just add the second batch and just rinse and repeat. Okay, and batch 2 is through. Again, put that on the plate. Look at how beautiful that sear is. Look at that, gorgeous. And the thing about having oil and butter at the same time is it helps prevent the meat from sticking to the bottom of the stainless steel pot. And alright, looking good. Okay, we're gonna set this meat aside for the time being. And now, leaving the remaining butter and oil in the pot, I am going to add in a whole Spanish, or you could use a yellow onion. I like to use a large one that I slice long ways and into like 1/2-inch wedges. And I'm gonna saute the onions in the butter and oil for about 3 minutes until they soften and cook down a bit. And as the onions are sauteing, they're going to release juices, and we want to get up any of the brown bits from the bottom of the pot, from the meat, deglaze the bottom. Okay, and our onions are looking nice and cooked down after a few minutes and softening up a bit. They shouldn't be fully softened, they're going to pressure cook, don't forget. Now what I want to do is I want to add in 6 cloves or 2 tablespoons of crushed or minced garlic, and saute that for another minute in with the onions. Garlic, onions, oil, butter, and a little bit of meat. We're going to take a 16 or so-ish, around there, ounce jar of pepperoncini. Not the same thing as pepperoni, by the way. It looks like it's almost like pepperoni the way it's spelled, but it's pepperoncini. They're peppers. They're slightly spicy. They have a little bit of a kick to them, but I assure you, once we cook this in the pot with the meat and the broth, it becomes just a slight tangy flavor, not overly spicy. So I'm going to take this whole jar, and what I want to do is I want to take all the stems off by just cutting them off, and then reserve a 1/2 cup of the juice from the jar. I'm going to add in the pepperoncini, where I have removed the stems. I'm also going to add in that 1/2 cup of reserved juice from the pepperoncini jar. Of course, I'm going to add in that absolutely phenomenal beef broth made with Better Than Bouillon roasted beef base. Couldn't do it without you. And then I'm going to season it up with a little bit of sweetness here by adding 2 tablespoons of either light or dark brown sugar. And now we're going to add some savory to the sweet with 2 1-ounce packages of a ranch dip mix and 2 1-ounce packages of au jus gravy mix. Alright, add that to it. And we're going to stir everything until it's really well combined in the pot. And now we are going to take our seared short ribs and then just nestle them inside of the pot. And as much liquid as you see in this pot now, even more is going to appear when they're done cooking, because that's what happens as the short ribs cook. They're going to release lots of juices, creating an even richer gravy. Look at that, delicious. You can add those drippings in there, and perfect. I am going to secure my lid, make sure that I am in the sealing position, and then we're going to hit the cancel button, and then we're going to hit the pressure cook button, and we're going to go for 45 minutes at high pressure. Again, if you have a start button, hit that, and if it doesn't have a start button in your model, then it'll just start on its own after a few moments of doing nothing. And now that the cooking time is complete, we're going to allow a 15-minute natural release, meaning we do nothing for 15 minutes. Once this display reads 15, we're then going to give it a quick release. And now that 15 minutes of a natural release have passed, you see that? We're going to finish this off with a quick release. And the pin just dropped, so we're going to take the lid off the pot. Oh boy, that is looking gorgeous. Oh, the aroma. It smells incredible. Now what I want to do is I want to carefully remove my short ribs with tongs and put them on a serving dish. It's okay if the bones are going to want to fall out. They're really going to want to, because it's super delicate. So tender. Short ribs cook incredibly well in the Instant Pot. Okay, and look at all these unbelievably tender short ribs, so many of them almost falling off the bone. We're going to leave that there, and now we are going to focus on bringing this to a bubble, which I did by hitting the saute button, and we are going to transform the drippings into the most amazing gravy. I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. We're going to take 6 tablespoons or 3/4 of a stick of salted butter, and we are going to put it in the microwave safe bowl and microwave it for about 15 seconds. And now it's all softened. And now to the softened butter, I'm going to add in 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour. And then I'm just going to, you see how the butter just kind of melts into the flour here? We're just kind of going to create this flaky, floury butter, which we are going to call the gravy potion. The consistency will look like frosting when it's done. So yeah, frosting is the right word for it. Perfect. Now to that bubbling sauce, we are going to add in the gravy potion. Again, it looks like frosting. Add it right in there. And we're going to stir it into the drippings, making sure it fully dissolves. And here, my friends, is this unbelievably thick, rich, luscious gravy that is going to be tangy with just a little bit of zest to it. All right, now we're going to kill the heat. About 30 seconds will do the trick, making sure that gravy potion is fully dissolved into the gravy. Okay, and there is my lovely, beautiful short ribs on the platter, and now all I have to do is just ladle the gravy over the short ribs. Oh my gosh, be generous with it. Be nice and generous. Oh yeah, look at that. And friends, there you have it, Mississippi style short rib pot roast, if you want to give it the pot roast title. This is going to be next level delicious, fall off the bone as you can see, and now I just say, let's try it out. Here we go. Okay, my friends, and here it is, my short ribs, Mississippi style. First off, it literally just fell off. It came apart just from putting it in the fork. The meat ripped apart from itself. This is going to be special. Here we go. Okay. There is so much flavor going on here, it's ridiculous. In the best possible way. The Better Than Bouillon broth sets the stage for a rich broth experience, which you need to make this happen. Then you have the pepperoncini juices in there. It gives it this wonderful zesty tang to it, mixed with the au jus and the ranch dip packets. The meat, you get what you pay for with meat. Short ribs are the like Cadillac, in my opinion, like a Cadillac cut of meat. And as you can see, it just came right off the bone here. Here's the bone, here's the meat. I'm gonna have a pepperoncini with this meat. I'm gonna just cut this meat right in half. Look at how easy that was, while I'm holding the plate in one hand and a fork in another. And here we go. Oh my. This is going to be so good over some mashed potatoes, if you want to make some. When I slap my hand like that onto the counter, it hurts for a split second, but then I realize it hurts because it's so good. And I'm almost angry because I never would have ever thought before I started using my pressure cooker that making a roast of any sort, like whether it be a chuck roast or short ribs or a chicken, anything like that, would be so unbelievably fork tender and done so simply in one pot. I didn't realize you could do it so easily. And not worrying about any of it. Like, it's like a set it and forget it situation. And of course, I have Better Than Bouillon. The roasted beef base here. You're just such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing to have in my kitchen. Look at how small this thing is. This is basically 38 cups of broth in a jar, because it's 1 teaspoon of this, the base, plus 1 cup of water equals 1 cup of broth. So it stores easily in your refrigerator. The shelf life is so much longer than a box of broth that you'd get in the market. It's so much more flavorful, and they have so many different flavors. You can like load up a whole shelf in your refrigerator with Better Than Bouillon jars, and it can equate like hundreds of cups of broth and taking up very little space in your fridge. Where does it get better than that, my friends? How, where, when, why, all those things. I love you. By the way, thank you so much for watching, my friends. I've written cookbooks. This recipe is basically from my Simple Comfort Step-by-Step Instant Pot cookbook. It's a variation of my Mississippi pot roast where I use a chuck roast, but in this case I substituted short ribs, which works so beautifully and so well. And I've written 4 other books as well. My most recent book is called Pastabilities. There's no instant potting in that book. Actually, one chapter is a 1-pot pasta chapter where you can either just use a pot on the stove or your instant pot, but it's not overall an instant pot cookbook like this one is. And you can follow me at Pressure Luck Cooking on Instagram and YouTube. Subscribe to me there, and at facebook.com/Pressure Luck Cooking. Make sure you like the page and make it a favorite so you see all my content. You don't want to miss easy and delicious, simple recipes where you don't have to have cooked a day in your life before you get going and feel like a gourmet chef. And PressureLuckCooking.com is my website where all my recipes live with a video for each one. There's never guesswork. I always have step-by-step photos, not only on the blog, but also in all the books. So there's never guesswork. Thank you so much again for watching, my friends. And the next time you want to make a dish where everyone is going to be calling dibs, well, grab a jar of Better Than Bouillon and make some of the most succulent Mississippi short ribs. Enjoy.